My name is Jay Mullings, and I am the author of the Thought Book and the Thought Book 2.
So you've written, as you mentioned, the Thought Book One, Thought Book Two. What was the inspiration behind Thought Book number one, but also your chosen style and format?
With the first Thought Book, what it was that I was having a lot of conversations with friends, family, colleagues, people in general who are in different fields, and I noticed that a lot of what we were discussing was pretty much, in spirit was the same things, but it was resulting in me repeating myself a lot, saying the same things over and over. And I was like, hang on here. My kind of thoughts on these things apply to more than just my immediate circumstances. Why not put them down in a book in a way which I tried to remove myself, so my personal circumstances are not really on display in the first book. I tried to make it in an inferent book where you could read it, apply your own meanings, and make the content applicable to you in a really really relevant way. So that's what brought about the first Thought Book.
Okay, because if you know when I read it, just the funny thing was I didn't expect that style because it's quotes. So your thoughts, exactly as you've said it, your thoughts. But I don't know what I expected. But it's good because like as I was reading, I was like, oh goodness,
Hmm.
I've actually felt like that before. And it
Exactly.
just felt like you've had a pen and paper and you just gone "Du-du-du-du, du-du-du-du," and but it's connected with so many different parts of people's thinking, where they are in their lives. So
Hmm.
I was gonna say, do you actually get any sleep whatsoever?
Ha, there's a name for it now, apparently. I'm a member of what they call the Sleepless Elite. And that's pretty much people who need less than the recommended 7 to 8 hours sleep a day. I can go as long as 42 hours being awake and with absolutely no trouble functioning whatsoever. So
That's
I
crazy.
don't sleep a lot.
Now
That's for sure.
one of the things that you talk about is about being a black man in the UK. So would how was that, as well as being of Jamaican heritage, influenced your writing?
Being a black male creative being black and creative in the UK anyway is, it's a tough battle. It's an uphill. It's a slog because for whatever reason we're often seen as not possessing the skill set needed for these endeavors, which is quite weird. Seeing as, if you want to check history, storytelling, we know where it all began and all the
Yeah.
rest of it. So, but specifically within the UK, what it's like being a black male writer is that a lot of what I want to have represented in story form is outwardly rejected as either being impossible,
Mm.
implausible, or truthful, or it's too accurate. It needs more fantasy, it needs more. And I'm like, but we don't even have the truthful representation yet before we're going to the fantastical representation of
Yeah.
things. And even then, if it's within a genre that requires you to be truthful, the fantasy element doesn't belong. It's people who are basically trying to put square pegs into round holes. And that's what they try to do to your writing. So it's always people who think they know how you should represent yourself the best. Everyone knows except for you who wants to represent yourself. So I write with a style that's unapologetic. I'll say what I want and I'll say it how I want.
So one of my favorite thoughts that you've put in the book is the mind is a powerful tool when married to purpose.
That's funny
Um,
because that's actually one of my favorites as well.
I love it because it is because I always believe, and I always say this to people: if you don't have purpose, what do you have? Because every day you wake up thinking, "This is what I want to do. This is what I'm going to achieve. How am I going to
Mhm.
do it?" And even though you can go round in circles, I always say, as long as you don't stop pursuing that purpose, or
I
that
agree.
goal, the journey in itself is fun. So so that was one of my
That's very
favorites.
true.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. And
No, I'm glad that one hit home because that's
yeah,
one of my favorites as well.
and so the other one that I wanted you to explain a little bit for me was winning is such a fragile thing. You can either celebrate it too short or wait too long.
That definitely applies to me. I'm someone who I'm always thinking about the next project. You're only as good as, your last piece of work. So a lot of the time I was winning awards, I was being invited to things and I looked at myself and I was like, but I want to be on top of Everest. Like I've
Okay.
just climbed a little hill. Like I'm not celebrating that. I'll celebrate when I get to Everest. And then I realized along the way, once I started not burning out, but starting to realize that, I was so intense with this journey that I wasn't celebrating the fact that, hang on, before you started, you never knew you could win 10 awards, let
Yeah.
alone 20 and 25 and so on and so forth. It was actually, it's so funny. The first few years, I wasn't counting all the times I was listed as a finalist or, top 100. I was like, top 100, unless I'm top 10, I don't care. But then I'm realizing that you went from being someone
Yeah.
who no one knew about your writing, no one respected your pen or your craft, to all of these people now are starting to say, yeah, we believe you are good enough to go on, and it's about celebrating that, or but not being kind of, you don't want to get into a situation where you're celebrating too long. So it's about, taking the wins as you get them, but also still building on from that foundation.
Why did you decide to? Because this thought book two is the format's similar in a way,
Hmm.
but you've decided to explain a few. It's like you're explaining your thoughts and the quotes that you've put in.
Yes.
Was that from feedback, or did you feel? Yeah, what was the reason behind it?
So it's a combination of things. Firstly, I didn't want to recycle the format
Okay.
completely because with like I said, with the first one, the book is written in a way where you're really supposed to take your pen out or your pencil, whatever it is, or even a crayon if you have a crayon, and you read the quote, and if something sparks in your mind, you're supposed to go ahead and use that white space to add your inference to each quote. But at the same time, a lot of the feedback was that we want to know how these quotes that you're putting on a page apply to your life
Oh.
specifically. And I'm like, I can 100% give you that, but at first I wanted to give you, or enable people or put people in a situation where they were able to bring their own content to the book. And the second one, I decided to, yeah, share more of my personal views and, my anecdotes, and, give kind of a reinforced meaning to each piece of each quote, each thought, each musing, each thing that I've put on a page.
And my last question, Jay, is so we've got anti-bullying week coming up in November. And I
Hmm.
know you were a victim of bullying in the workplace yourself, but what advice would
Yeah,
would you like to give anyone who's going through something like that? Because bullying doesn't stop, and it's not going to stop anytime soon.
I agree. The first piece of advice is always to value yourself above anything. The instinct you get when you're first being bullied is to internalize it and say, it must be me, I must be doing something wrong. It must be because of it's not because of you. It's because of whoever it is that's bullying you, being a person, a company, or organization, or whatever it is. It's always them. And you need to basically continue to love yourself and continue to put yourself first, and also recognize that it's not weak to step away from these situations completely. If it's a job, they're not winning by you moving on somewhere else. That's you respecting your own worth.
So, Jay, where can we buy your books from? And I know you've got a podcast as well, so if you can give us all that information.
Ha, I don't have a podcast yet. I have one
Okay.
that, yes, it's like you've read my mind. There is a podcast in the works. My books at the moment, they're available on writtenmirror.com. There's a shop on Written Mirror, and I like to sign and inscribe my books so everyone gets a personal message. No two messages are ever the same. They get page dedications. But yeah, to stay up to date with my happenings, there's a blog on Written Mirror as well. I blog a lot.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Jay.
No, no, thank you very much for having me.